the videographer for this occasion. And I'm sure the reason that this place is so overwhelmingly filled with people is that it's live, and many of our members are watching this from home. So, okay. We're now proceeding with our shadow representatives. Again, I'd like each of you to take 1 minute to make an opening statement, and we'll start with Mike Brown.
Thanks, Jerry. Good evening. Let me start by thanking Jerry and the people at DC for Democracy for putting on this forum. I think these are important in the election process, so thanks for doing this. My name is Michael Brown. For those of you that don't know me, I'm your current junior United States Senator from the District of Columbia, the Shadow Senator. I'm running for re-election because I want to continue the important work that I started 5 years ago. I think we've made real progress in the last few years. When I started this job, the DC Voting Rights Act was the only thing out there. Now we have 5 pieces of legislation. In the House, we have a statehood bill. As you probably know, 75 of us have been arrested in the last 9 months. Several of us have gone to court. We're really making progress. But the thing you need to leave here with, regardless of which candidate you want, you need to get involved, because we're going to get this done, but we need you to get it done. Thanks.
Pete Ross.
My name is Pete Ross. I'm a 35-year resident of Washington, D.C. My wife and I, we purchased our home in 1974. Little did we think we'd be here 37 years later. There's 3 things that I think are required of a shadow senator, or senator I hope to be. 1, agitate, educate, and negotiate. We talk about, I think we need more agitation. I when one of the 74 people who was arrested, but I'm the only one who has not decided who is going to trial. On March 13th, I refused to settle for paying a $150 fine, doing community service. I'm going to trial, and if necessary, to jail. I think we need to have more agitation to make more publicity throughout the nation for voting rights, for full voting rights for Washington, D.C. residents.
Okay, thank you very much. First question, and this will be a minute allowed for each answer. What do you take away from our experience with the committee vote on statehood in the New Hampshire House of Representatives last week? Do you think this is a good strategy? What, if anything, should be done differently next time, either in New Hampshire or in another state? Mr. Ross?
I felt that we went up there unprepared. You never go up to something like this not knowing what the end result would be. We should have had negotiations. We should have been speaking to the people or the parties involved long before we went up there. And if we didn't know what the end result was going to be, we shouldn't be going up there. I just, you can't just go up there not knowing what the people are thinking. I think we got blindsided. And I think it was very embarrassing for us. And I think we have to do a little bit more preparation before we go to a state legislature.
Mr. Brown.
Let me start by clearing something up. Pete's not the only person that's gone to trial. 9 of us have gone to trial, including myself. But as far as New Hampshire goes, the council was not prepared. We have talked to these people for 4 years now. This isn't something that we did willy-nilly. We first went up in 2002. I think it is a good idea, but we changed the resolution from one supporting the DC Voting Rights Act, which was the thing in 2008, to one supporting statehood. They had constitutional problems with statehood. The city council didn't do enough groundwork to find out about those issues so that we could address them when we're up there. So yes, it's a good strategy, but yes, we need to do some more groundwork, and we need to do more lobbying, and we need to educate people. People think that statehood is a violation of the Constitution, and it's not. We need to make that clear.
Thank you both. Second question, also 1 minute answers. How can our shadow delegation more effectively work together with the mayor and the council? Mr. Brown.
Well, they could give us some clout. They could give us some money. I mean, I feel like I'm talking to family here, so I'm going to be honest with you. We have no operating budget. My office was founded 20 years ago, and not one dime has been paid by the District of Columbia to help support it. We need to have some operating expenses in order to get things done. And we could work better with the council if the council would do more than just give us office space, but would actually get actively involved with the delegation. We work very hard. I work 60 hours a week. This is all I do. And I think to make it a more cooperative effort, the ball is really in the council's court at this point. We'd love to do more.
Mr. Ross?
I'm not too sure, but I believe that that Congress has restricted our council from giving money to to support our shadow representatives and senators. I may not be correct, but I believe that's the situation. So we don't really have a choice that the council can't give us money. I have to say that I'd have to agree with everything that Senator Brown has said. I would work full-time at this. I'm now getting ready to turn my business over to my son, and this just requires full-time, and I would be up at this, down, trying to talk to our city council to get them more involved in the agitation phase. We did it once last year, April, when we had 40 people got arrested. This should be done much more regularly, and this needs to be done more often. Thank you.
Okay, one more question, and this is a 2-minute question. What are the ingredients in an effective legislative strategy for statehood? What should our priorities be, both short-term and long-term? Mr. Ross?
Well, again, I have to go back to the word agitation. If I were elected as a senator of the representing Washington, D.C., I would march myself into the Capitol building, get as close as I could to the Senate chamber, and stay there and declare and insist that I be seated. I think one of the things we need to do is publicize it. If I have to be removed from the Capitol, so be it. But I would be being removed from the Capitol as a representative of the 600,000 residents of Washington, D.C. So this is the part where the agitation is going to get the publicity. Unfortunately, when I look at what's going on with the Occupy D.C., they have gotten more publicity about the lack of voting rights of us residents here in Washington, D.C. in the last 4 months than we have done in the last several years. I feel this is almost embarrassing. It's the first time in a couple years that I have seen the national networks discuss the lack of voting rights of Washington, D.C. residents. So I'd have to say that my stream would be agitate. And then once you agitate, you get in the news and you educate. And that's where I would come from.
Mr. Brown?
Again, I'd like to clear something up. That restriction on the council spending money on the shadow delegation was lifted 2 years ago. So now the council can spend money. But in addition to that, and also we've tried. Paul Strauss went to the door of the Senate with his credentials and was turned away. So that's a strategy we have tried. I think the strategy is the strategy that we are pursuing right now, which is, one, getting co-sponsored for H.R. 265. We've gotten 16 co-sponsors so far. We continue to lobby. I'm working with Nancy Pelosi's office right now to get her on as a co-sponsor. We're trying to get companion legislation in the Senate. You know, this is the first time we've had a statehood bill in the House of Representatives in 20 years. So we have to take a new strategy. We do need to get more attention to the problem. So I started a nationwide nonprofit to spread information across America through school systems on what our situation is here. But we've come up with a strategy. We've got a group together. The ACLU is involved. The city council's involved. The shadow delegation's involved. And we're trying to get sponsors for HR 265. And that's the strategy right now, to see how many co-sponsors we can, to keep the bill alive, to keep pushing it forward, because This is an injustice that can't stand on its own. We have to remember that 80% of the American people that were surveyed agreed that we should have the same rights as every other American. So we need to continue to push on HR 265. There's also two other bills, 266 and 267, and we need to continue to get the word out. And by the way, we took those hunger strikers to New Hampshire with us to testify. So we've been involved with the occupied DC people. We do everything we can think of, believe me.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
That concludes our questions for the Shadow Senators.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Get involved.